Hey, good evening, and welcome to the Uptown Parlay Podcast. Now, your host, Ace.
So, since we are all back here again, welcome to the Uptown Parlay Podcast. We got Ace, Levon, and Malik.
What's good, man?
What up, everybody? What up, fellas?
Now,
What's going
Levon,
on?
Yeah.
you had a lot to say about the All Star game and a way to fix it. I want to get your opinion on that, and I want you to give me your All Star game fixes and what you thought of it.
Well, I didn't really have an opinion on how to fix it. I said that I thought Malik's idea was interesting, taking the snubs and giving them a chance to go up against the All-Star selectees and proving. But look, all of that is pointless. We all watched. This was before the game, I think. Did we talk about this before the game or after?
A little bit before, but not
I
as
don't think
much after.
we haven't really discussed since.
All right. So
On this,
now that
on,
we've
recording.
watched that debacle that was the All-Star festivities for the NBA, even I think Malik's idea wouldn't matter because the climate in the NBA for what it is, and we saw it on full display. I mean, the players don't care about All-Star weekend or the All-Star game. They look at it as a vacation, time to be off, time to not go hard, not play hard. And I don't know if you can fix that. I mean, the NFL had the same problem, with the Pro Bowl. And people were disinterested because they could see the obvious disparity, the obvious difference between the level of competition and urgency between Pro Bowl game and actual NFL game and the NBA All-Star game and actual NBA game. And nobody wants to see these guys loaf up and down the court, barely play any defense, and score a ton of points, or in this recent one's case, barely score any points. It's not compelling. Um, what is compelling is what the NHL did, which is crazy. But that whole thing, and I watched it, and I know Ace watched it because we were going back and forth. I don't know if we were texting back and forth, I think, about how it looked like that was the friggin' Olympics. Or that was the actual Stanley Cup. I mean, you couldn't tell the difference in the effort they gave and looking at those guys at the end of the game, how they won the game, and like looking at the losers' faces. When the USA lost that game, they stayed on the ice and they stared at Canada and they were pissed and they were vested in that. And if the NBA could somehow, bottle that and produce it on their end, then yeah, the All-Star game would be fixed. I don't know how you do it though. I don't know how you get NBA players to buy in and play. I don't mean not hard, but I mean why not? Take some pride in being an All-Star, like they say they do. The fans voted me this, all that's lip service. But then you get out there and you don't give people what they want to see. They want to see you guys play against each other like you want to prove that you are better than, player X. They want to see, Kyrie was like in the one-on-one thing, which I think is stupid. He was like, that one-on-one thing, I'm not ducking any smoke, bring on anybody. Bring that in the All-Star game. We'd love to see it. It doesn't have to be one-on-one. You can see Kyrie go ahead and try to give it to Trae Young, try to cross him up, try to score on him like he would if it was a regular season game, put some juice to it. I mean, I don't know how you fix that. If I had to take a guess, all I could do is mimic what the NHL did, and make it like USA basketball versus, I guess, the world. I don't know if you have that many international players where you can do like 4 or 5 team tournament for 4 team tournament. I don't know, but I just know what I watched outside of the Rising Stars trying to beat the OGs. That was a little interesting, but the rest of it was a joke. And
So
it,
I got
it
a
was.
question for you. So that you saw Wemby playing, you didn't think Wemby was going hard. That's
I
what I'm
thought
taking.
Wemby is young and he's a first time All Star, so he was like, "I'm here," and you could see it. But it's kind of like Rising Stars. Those young guys were out there, and they were like, "Yeah, we play." Even when they had to play to get to that game, they were like, "We were playing for the right to play on Sunday." So they looked at that as an opportunity to showcase, an opportunity to go out there and make a statement. And yeah, they played hard. And Wemby looked like he was going out there playing hard too. But you're not going to get that from the players you want, like LeBron's. I'm not playing in the last minute, in the 12th hour. I'm going to sit out. And Anthony Edwards doing the same thing. And, Kevin Durant out there. And I mean, let's not even. I'm not even talking about Kevin Hart and that whole cringe fest with him out there with his commentary and it just being as bad as. I mean, we could spend 5 hours dissecting that
No, we could
whole
not.
thing.
We
We
definitely
won't.
cannot spend
We
5 hours.
we won't. But I know between me and Malik, we can spend 5 hours dissecting every last embarrassing, cringy, ridiculous thing we saw in that All-Star game, and it was not good. It was gimmicky. It was corporate. It was not good, man. It was not good at all. That's all. That's pretty much. I took up way too much time. Apologies. Apologies to
As
that.
usual. Malik, what you got to say?
Yeah, nothing to disagree with Levon on and with respect to, how gimmicky he was. I lucked out because I didn't watch the game live. I recorded it and I watched it and I just fast forwarded past all of the Kevin Hart stuff because I knew it was gonna be just horrible. Why NBA All-Star Game requires an MC. So that's why he was the first MC ever in the history of this event because it doesn't need an MC. This is not Rucker Park. We don't need Kevin Hart coming out there, trying to make some silly commentary. Just play the game. Um, and while I tend to agree, and we had this conversation over the last few years about the USA versus World and trying to figure out whether or not that's something that could work for All Star. I like the idea of it. My personal feeling would be to do something like that in replacement of what the Emirates Cup is currently. This NBA Cup thing that they do in the beginning of the season. I think if you did something similar to like the World Baseball Classic and got, you know, a USA national team or whatever, a national team of all stars, or you did a mini Olympics or something like that, um, as
You know they
a
have that.
pre.
It's called the World Championship.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you did like something like that again, but with all NBA players as a precursor to the all NBA G Leaguers, like you could invite any players that come from, different countries and you can, put teams together and you could do that. I think that in place of the Emirates Cup might be the way you can go for it. My personal feeling about the All-Star piece, and I've said this before, is like I actually did a little bit of homework on it. Um, I think in theory it makes sense, right? It's one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, players will play for it, they'll play for country, they'll play for for the flag, until they don't, and everybody believes that they will. Um, but I think in practice, it's hard to, it's logistically a little bit difficult. And Levon kind of alluded to it as well. Is like, are there the number of players available to put together, a number of all-star teams that are all from, U.S. born players with, players that are foreign born? And when I did the math, um, of the 2025 All-Stars, just of the All-Stars that were selected into this game, including the two alternates, I'm sorry, with two or three alternates that were there. Kyrie was an alternate and Trey Young was an alternate. Um, so there were 27 All-Stars in the game this time around. Uh, I'm sorry, 25. 19 of them were U.S. born. Only six were non-U.S. born players. So there are only six foreign born all-stars in the game. So and as you saw, even that team, Chuck had a team of quote unquote global stars. Even that team had Donovan Mitchell and Trey Young on it. Trey Young was a substitute for
Well,
Giannis,
and Carl
who
Anthony Towns, who was born in New
Well,
Jersey.
and Carl Anthony
His
Towns, but
mom's Dominican,
Carl Anthony Towns played for the Dominican Republic,
but he's American.
in
Like
the.
he's not. He
I
wasn't
understand
born
that,
in
but he
DR.
played.
That's what.
I understand that, but he played for the Dominican Republic, just like Joel Embiid was not born in America, but he's a naturalized U.S. citizen, and he played for the
Yeah,
U.S. in the Olympics.
he
So
was born overseas.
in theory, if you wanted to do something where Joel Embiid was an all-star, he could potentially play for, a world team instead of playing for for the USA side. Um, but just the numbers there is pretty disparate. And then if you look at it, I believe I went to ranker.com and looked at the top 30 NBA players, regardless of whether they're all-stars or not. And in the top 30, only 22 of those top 30 or 31 because I included Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid was not listed obviously because of his injury. Um, so I included Joel Embiid as one of the top 30 players. And of that list, 22 are US born and only 9 non-US born. So the disparity between just the number of players, the raw numbers, won't work every year. It'll be difficult to bring together a team or multiple teams of foreign-born all-stars. I'm not saying foreign-born players. You could probably, put together enough. There's enough guys in the NBA who could be, who are foreign-born who could be playing in said game, but they'd have to be all-stars. They'd have to be selected as all-stars, and that's where the issue would come for me. So I say all that to say, I started doing more thinking into it. And one of the issues I do have with the NBA All-Star Weekend, just in general, and Ace, you can chime in here as well, is like, and you too, Levon, the schedule is just weird.
Yeah.
The fact that they are playing games up until the Thursday before All-Star
They
Weekend,
didn't used to do that. They used to
they didn't
be
used
the
to do
games
that.
used
It
to
used to
end
be
on
at least
Tuesday on TNT,
right,
and then there'd be 3 days. There'd be when Tuesday was the last day, but they made
right,
every team play that Thursday, which was odd this year. So it used
right,
to end on a Tuesday, then Wednesday, Thursday, and then they wouldn't really get there till Saturday because that was when the
right,
skills competitions were, dunk contest and
right.
the three.
So this time around, like I absolutely remember this year the All-Star festivities were in San Francisco. Golden State had a game Thursday night. Steph Curry played in that game. So the fact that Steph Curry did not shoot in the three-point competition, not surprised. The fact that Steph Curry wasn't involved in any of those festivities leading up to it, not surprised, even though it's his city, and it's probably going to be the last time, in his career, not that he's going to be an all-star, but definitely that the All-Stars game is going to be in his city where he's the host of his city, and so like making them play the day before all of the festivities just to me doesn't make any sense. So from one standpoint, it's the scheduling. From the other standpoint, to Levon's point about, you know, kind of, I think we need to start enforcing some of All-Star Weekend actually being All-Star Weekend, meaning
Make
the
it
players
longer
have
and
to
make
play.
it special.
Right. Give them longer to plan to be, a part of it. And the games, like give them like, a front end the break, right? Give them off the Sunday. The last game they should play is the Sunday or the Monday before the All-Star break. Then they have, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, even Thursday to either, relax and do stuff with their families or whatever they're going to do, go on vacation, whatever. But you require all of the All Stars to come back by that Friday. And then you require them to perform in at least one of the competitions that are taking place on that on that weekend. I actually do like the 1v1 or the 2v or a 2v2 tournament, like a little mini tournament, just pitting
Can I,
players against things. I like it. I'm
can I,
but I'd only do it if it's only all stars. Like to
can I
me,
chime real quick on that? That'll
No, you
never
can't.
work. Okay, what I said. That'll never work because the NBA player today does not want to. There's no, you know what? The late great Kobe Bryant. I gave Kobe a lot of ish while he was playing because he was a Jordan clone, but he was the last, and there's not a lot of that left. There's not a lot of grit and edge left. And 1v1 is grit and edge. If I have to watch a 1v1 with a bunch of kissing and hugging and patting on the butt cheek and not going hard, I'm gonna throw something at the TV. If I have to watch a buddy buddy 1-on-1 between KD and LeBron where they like tickling each other and giggling, and I'll be pissed, bro. I don't want to
well,
see that. I don't want
Well,
to see that.
the interesting thing about
Now,
that is that from folks that when people were talking about it, because obviously they kind of chimed in on it, and Ace, I'll let you go, and then um, reporters that watch, that go to practices and watch this, they actually came out and said, yeah, this happens on a regular. They play ones in the end. They play ones in practice all the time, and they go hard. There was a video that got leaked on social media last week, matter of fact, of Kyrie Irving going one on one, playing one in the Dallas Mavericks practices against Luka Doncic. And they played a one-on-one tournament. Apparently, this happened last season, and it was recorded last season. They played a one-on-one tournament amongst the team, and Kyrie beat everybody. He beat Luka. He beat anybody else that faced him. He beat everybody, and so like there's definitely that goes on, across NBA locker rooms, um, and it's happening, but obviously we don't see it all. So
That's the thing. With the world not watching and no heat, will they still go hard? Will somebody want to get embarrassed by Kyrie and have that be the talking point on ESPN or something that's on tape for the world to see? And that's partly why I think the All-Stars don't go hard, is because they don't want to embarrass each other or risk being embarrassed. They don't want us to start ranking them outright. They don't want that.
I get that. And that's why I'm going to get to my proposal. But Ace, I wanted you to go ahead and chime in. I'm going to get to my proposal for what the new schedule would look like. Go ahead, Ace.
I have a bunch of them. One, if you're gonna make it special, you got to make it special. Minimum 6 players in the slam dunk. 3 from the East, 3 from the West. The fact that people are getting on the slam dunk contest and Mac McClung is 6'1" barefoot and jumped over the tall part of a car and took the basketball out of the sunroof and dunked it is amazing. Y'all need to stop complaining. That was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Second, we need to decide who this is for. Because Kevin Hart is not for kids. Kevin Hart was for the grown-ups that were there. He was there to entertain the adults. Mr. Beast and all the other streamers, they're there for the kids. They're there for the teenagers, people who are 25, probably even 25, people who are like 20 and under. If you're still in high school and you're watching the All-Star game, that was for you. So we need to decide who this is for. Is this for children, or is this for the adults who actually like going and going to games and enjoying basketball?
I
Celebrity game.
I think you do away with the festivities altogether.
No.
Those things.
But my whole point is, who's it for though? Who's it for? Because we're confusing.
It doesn't matter.
If Kevin Hart's not there, if Kevin Hart's not there, and it's just a bunch of young people, we have no idea who they are because we're now 40. Then guess what? It's not for us.
No,
they're
but
not
I'm
trying
saying
to get us to watch.
But I'm not saying. I'm saying no Kevin Hart, no Mr. Beast. If it's about basketball, make it about basketball, and that's
I
it.
agree.
But
but the entertainment part. I hear what you're saying, but the entertainment part is them coming on and doing things with the NBA and promoting.
The entertainment is the basketball. What are we talking about?
Exactly.
And also, they're sending all the sponsors.
But Ace,
they're selling it to sponsors too.
When the game was good, we didn't need that.
And all of that.
Yeah, we didn't need that.
Yeah, but
when
they
the
make
game
more
was
money
good,
by
we
selling.
Didn't need it. I don't care. But I understand.
But he's doing his job as commissioner because he's making them more money.
Make it a commercial.
Job.
Make it a commercial break somewhere else. You can fit those things in.
Yeah, make it a
you're
commercial.
just annoyed because it's not like how it used to be then.
Well, here's my Ace. But here's the thing: you can fit those things in without diluting the actual game.
Yes.
That's the whole point. You can fit those things into the narrative, into the weekend, this is what I'm saying. Like you can make the weekend about whatever you want to make it about without impacting the game.
Make the Mr. Beast
thing.
Make the Mr. Beast thing kind of like this, like the NFL did with that FanDuel kick. They didn't do it during the game. It was filmed somewhere else and it was a commercial and they showed it. Do that then, like during a commercial, during maybe during halftime, but during the games, I don't want to hear Kevin Hart while people are dribbling up and down the court trying to be quick and funny. And I want to say something about the dunk contest and the 3-point contest after Malik finishes his point.
Well, Ace, did you? So here was my suggestion for the weekend. And I'm gonna build on this. I actually want to write this out and build on this even further. But like I said, you would have the players, give the players off earlier in the week so that all players, all-stars and regular players have the opportunity to get that break that they need in between after playing 60 some odd games, right? Everybody, all the all-stars are required to come back on the Friday. On the Friday, we do the 1v1 or the 2v2 tournament, whatever it is. And again, all-stars only, no regular players in this, no non-all-stars in this game. And then you do the celebrity game, which already happens, which people seem to like. And again, that's for the fans of those celebrities, because I usually know about 3 of them. On the Saturday, you do the Rising Stars game, which typically happens on the Friday night. But I think that the Rising Stars game has become, in my opinion, the most exciting game of the weekend. So you do that on the Saturday night. And then your skills competition and your 3-point contest and your dunk contest should be all-stars only. If you are not an all-star, you should not be competing in that competition. For the dunk contest, I would say it's all-stars or all-star nominations. And what I mean by that is if you're an all-star and you just don't practice dunking and you don't have, but you have somebody that is, then put something on the line and nominate somebody to go into your place. So it's required for an all-star to be a part of that, because it's not just the fact that Mac McClung is in the dunk contest, or any I can't remember the names of the guys that were all in there this time around. But it's the fact that, like, not only do we not know who they are, we don't even know, like, if they're on the team. Like, they're not even, they're not even celebrated. They're not brought out they're not endorsed by some star who we be like, okay, this is Giannis's guy. Giannis says this guy is gonna do crazy things. So when that guy doesn't do it, it's on Giannis. Giannis is expected to live up to that and to speak to it. And then Sunday, the All-Star game. And here's my thought about the All-Star game. Yes, we know guys don't want to play, especially guys that have been going for 10, 12 years. If it's your 15th All-Star game, and sure, you don't want to play. All right, fine, you don't want to play. And in all honesty, I don't want the guys there that don't want to play, that don't want to compete. So I would say that the game itself, would be optional for any All-Stars with X number of years of service. So if this is your seventh All-Star game and you don't want to play in that game, you can opt out of playing in the game, and we'll bring somebody else in that will play, your minute. So Norman Powell was a snub, to your point, Levon. Norman Powell was a snub. I wanted to see him go in there and try to play for his first All-Star game. So LeBron James, you don't want to play? We'll bring Norman Powell in to play for you. Norman Powell was definitely deserving of an All-Star opportunity. LeBron James don't want to play. Cool. We'll bring this guy in. So it's optional for anybody else. Anyone under whatever that number of years of service is, they are mandatory. They are required to play in the game. So the last part of that is then All-Star players will be required to compete in at least one of the events for the weekend. So every All-Star is going to be required to be in attendance and competing in one of the events, either the 1v1 tournament, the skills competition, the three-point contest, the dunk contest, or the game, right? You make sure that there's an All-Star there's an All-Star representation in all of those events. And then for any guys that commit to the Sunday game, you pay them more money. Maybe you give them a bump, or all-star bump, or you give them some overtime pay, or whatever the hell it's called, because they're likely going to have to practice. They're likely going to have to give up some of those days in the beginning of the week to bring the team together and get them to practice together and get them to actually, build some kind of rapport as a group to be ready for that game on Sunday. Sunday needs to be a showcase. It needs to be, a game. It needs to be a battle. And if everybody out there is an all-star and everybody out there is playing hard and everybody out there, these guys are meeting each other on Saturday afternoon and practicing for like an hour with the media there and just getting shots up. And then the game comes around. These guys these guys are not doing that. Like, it's just not, the quality of the game is just completely eroded with results of that. So those are my suggestions. Those are my thoughts. Enforce all-star player competition, representation in every event, at least one. Multiple, if you do multiple events as an all-star, you get extra money or some kind of incentive in your contract to do that. And anyone that's done 7 or more or 5 or more all-star appearances, they are optional to join. They're optional to play in the game, and we'll find a replacement for you. But you have to make that decision by like the Wednesday before, after the selections have been made, just so that we can identify replacements as a result of that. So that's where I would go, and I would start there and then go from there. I think Adam Silver needs to start getting very, very intentional about this game and start making requirements rather than just kind of letting guys, make decisions on their own. This is the All-Star game.
I hear you completely.
All-Star game. Let's do it.
I'm not going to lie. I like the new format. I think it made the guys who were younger, who were there for the first or second time, compete a little bit better. Wemby was taking it seriously. Giannis is that guy, but he was hurt, so he was resting his ankle injury. But in my opinion, you got to keep the Celebrity All-Star game, and this is why. But 3 players from the East, 3 players from the West in the slam dunk. if you're gonna have 8 guys in the 3-point and make that a bigger thing, then keep making it a big thing. Keep emphasizing it because right now we're selling threes. We're not selling dunks as much anymore. And if you're gonna do the celebrity game, you should do the celebrity game the way you did the tournament. 4 teams, 2 games, games to 40. They're not that good. We're there to see them goof around and play around. They're celebrities. So just do a YouTube streamer, podcaster team, one of reality stars, one of musicians, no matter what kind of music they make, and then one of actors and comedians. And then you just have them go play. And you just put a celebrity with them, whether it be from ESPN, NBC, or whoever's going to be there next year showing it. Right? Like that's what it is. The one-on-one game, that should be the Rising Stars. Instead of having them play an actual 5-on-5, have the Rising Stars game be one-on-one on Saturday. And maybe I like the HBCU game, but I got to be honest, I did not tune in to watch Division II basketball. Okay? Never in my life have I ever said, you know what I want to see? Morehouse play basketball. It's Black History Month. Respect. I know what y'all trying to do. You're trying to raise money and send it to them. But nobody here tuned in to see Tuskegee take on Morehouse. No one cared except Spike Lee. I know I sound like a hater. I know. Give me Jackson State. Give me Howard. Give me Hampton. Players who are better. You showed me Division II basketball. Never in my life have I gone on to ESPN Plus and said, you know what I'd like to see? Division II basketball. No, this is what we're not going to do. If you're going to do HBCUs, make sure that they're D1. I'm sorry. That's the bare minimum we can get. You got to be able to do better than that. Considering that there have been HBCU players in the NBA, I don't think there's been one from Tuskegee or Morehouse. Let's keep it a buck, okay? They usually go to Hampton. They usually go to North Carolina Central or somewhere else. We can do better than that. And if we're really going to do this, go back to how it was back in the day. 12, expand the rosters to 18, 15, 15, 15, East, West. You can do the captains thing from the East and captains from the West. Whoever gets the most vote getters from each, like if they would Bron and Giannis. I'm with that. The only person you can't really make play hard is Luka, who does not care, and also the big dude from Serbia, Jokic. He doesn't care. There's nothing you can do to get him to play hard. It's just not going to happen for them. But aside from that, also, just having it in one central spot. Players want to make it a vacation, reward them with a vacation. Have it in Hawaii, like you used to have a Pro Bowl every year. Or have it in Puerto Rico. Have it in the Bahamas. Just have it in the same spot every year. So when they go, they're actually looking forward to it. Because it's a privilege to get to go now. Now if you get chosen for the
who's going to fill that stadium in Hawaii? Who's going? There's no basketball team in Hawaii.
The fans will show up.
Who's
there
going?
Is, though. There is. There used to be a tournament. Used to be a basketball tournament out in Hawaii to start the season every year in November and December for college basketball.
For college,
if they'll show up there for college basketball, they will damn sure show for NBA All-Star game. I promise you.
I think I heard something that they hardly filled the stadium in San Francisco for the All-Star game. I don't think people are going to be flying.
That's not true. They bought them tickets. But the problem was there was no energy because it's a different kind of crowd that shows up in San Francisco.
They said that the
than what would show up in Oakland.
But
there was no energy
behind that. They wouldn't show it because there was nobody there. That's what I heard.
I don't know about that.
I don't have any pictures
but I will
of it.
Say,
I'll try to pull it up, but that's what
I will say. You want guys looking forward to going to All-Star Weekend as players? Have it in Puerto Rico. Have it in the Bahamas.
Look,
They'll be able to. I promise you that.
I don't think it's about. I don't. And Lauren, I'm gonna just interject real quickly. I don't think it's about whether or not they deem this something that they want to show up for. You have been selected either by the fans or by the coaches as one of the best players in the league. You are an ambassador for the game. This is part of your job. And it needs to be
That's not going to work.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It needs to be that, at least from an attendance perspective. I don't want to make it, fun for the players and go have a freaking All-Star weekend in the Bahamas because players want to go to the Bahamas for a week. No, that's not the incentive that I want to give players to come there. You're a freaking All-Star. So if you're an All-Star and you're healthy, come to the goddamn weekend and perform.
Look, it's different. If it's different, I know like I said, we can stay on this because of the different viewpoints and all the different things we can talk about. The NBA has always been a face league. So it's been a face league, more so than football. Baseball's kind of a face league, more so definitely than hockey. Those sports where the players wear helmets, it's a face league. And the players are millionaires. They make tons of money, and they're not gonna be tricked into playing hard. They gotta want to do it. They gotta want to play hard. They gotta have a reason to go out there and bust it. The reason why the Emirates Cup is good and people are into it is because it's midseason and the players play hard because those games count and because of the prize money. So they play hard. They don't play hard in the All-Star game because they don't value the basketball of it. It's not in them to care if they are seen to be better. Jokic doesn't care if we think he's better than Embiid. LeBron doesn't care if we think he's better than, I don't know, Giannis. They don't care. They're all friends. They all hang out. They don't care. It's not like before, when it was, Jordan versus Bird. They had video games called Jordan versus Bird. It's not like that anymore. I don't know how you can convince these millionaires who, are making all this money and they're the faces of the league and they're so important and they can practically buy teams at the end of the day when their careers are over, some of them, to vest in a one-game thing that is strictly going to benefit us watching and the league itself. And Aaron is a lot of Aces points are benefiting the league, talking about where they play and making it this and all of that stuff. You got to get the players to invest because if they don't play hard, the fans are not going to care. We're going to be talking about this again. The one-on-one thing is not going to rock because you're going to pack a stadium. You're going to pack any kind of venue that's used to seeing 10 people at a time run up and down. You're going to focus on two guys that you're going to want to see play hard and go at each other. I don't see that.
I would agree with that if I didn't see fans and I went to, and I know this because I went to an actual event. If I didn't see fans pack the house for the big three tournaments, the big three games.
What house are they packing? Where'd you go?
I went to one of the first ones that happened in New York when New York had a team. It was in that was in Westchester. Yeah, it was in
MSG?
No.
Was it in the Barclays?
It was in the that's where it was. It was in the Barclays.
You go pack the Barclays.
They packed the Barclays.
How much were tickets?
The Barclays, they were cheap. They were relatively cheap tickets. But not for
the big three.
But it doesn't matter. They showed up though. The point is to get people in there.
They showed up to watch 40 and 45 and 35 and 45-year-old retired NBA players go out there and play a three-man tournament. And the tickets for the All-Star weekend typically are not that expensive. Saturday evenings tickets are usually not that expensive. Sunday's tickets can get a little pricey depending on where you sit, but Saturday's tickets typically are not that expensive.
But these are usually corporate sponsored events, and that's the real reason why you need the weekend to be good. And that's why the league needs to be good for the league. If you have it in a place, I'm telling you, if you have it in a permanent site, listen to me. If you have it in a permanent site, like it's always going to be in San Juan, we're all going somewhere warm. The media is happy, the players are happy. Nobody wants to go to Utah, dog.
Bro, nobody's playing hard in Hawaii. It doesn't matter if it's in Utah.
Nobody's trying to show up.
Why are they going to play hard in Hawaii?
It makes it it's not about the players. It makes it a vacation for the people going to the game. It makes it a vacation for
We're not talking about vacation time. We're talking about the game being crap.
I'm talking about everything. See, it's everything surrounding the game. You're focusing a little bit too much just on the game.
How does that make the game
They can still get embarrassed. They can still get embarrassed because now I'm showing up and I'm happy to be there.
How does Hawaii make the game more compelling? How does that make them play?
The players that are there are going to be happy.
Like that
are going to be happy to be there.
That we all watched. Me and you, Ace, we watched it. How does it emulate that emotion
it adds stakes
from the players?
It adds stakes to
it. You said put it in Hawaii. I'm saying, how does it?
Yeah, because they actually want to go.
Stop it.
They don't want, but that's what I'm saying, Ace. If they want to go to Hawaii, just like Levon said, these guys are millionaires. They wanted to go to Hawaii.
Go to Hawaii if they want.
Go to Hawaii.
But now this is a free trip. Now this is a free trip. And as crazy as that sounds, free is free. Free is free.
But what I'm saying is, I'm not gonna play harder for the opportunity to get a free trip to Hawaii if I don't get selected. This is why I said, like, what?
I bet you they will. I bet you they will.
No way.
There was an interesting quote. I think it was on ESPN or one of the national networks, where one of the guys was talking. And there was two things. One, and Levon kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, is the face. Who is the face of the league? If the face of the league is out there playing his ass off
Hard balling,
and playing
yes.
hard and like going at everybody,
They'll
then
follow.
that, incentivizes everybody else to do that. It's just like when people talked about if Tom Brady was the hardest working player on the Patriots, then how could I not work as hard as Tom Brady? And that whole mentality, right? So it starts there. The other thing that was mentioned was the same person said, if David Stern was still the commissioner, this would not be happening.
Yes, it would.
Malik, let me
No, it
jump in
wouldn't.
real quick to your point, just to add to your point. I'm not a big LeBron James fan, but he is still a face in the league, if not the face in the league.
Right.
He asked out in the last minute.
Right.
And he took the team picture in street clothes.
Right. Exactly.
Clowning
So the fact that the face of the league is able to do that
and clown it
and basically, stick his nose up to the league.
Yeah.
During one of their most, supposedly exciting and high leverage moments, that tells you where things are going. And Ace, and I know you were getting ready to chime back on it, but what he said, what the guy was saying, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Kendrick Perkins or somebody. But what he said was, David Stern held players accountable to what they were expected to do and what they were required to do. He set requirements and he set accountability on players. Not saying that players didn't buck against the system and didn't fight back and didn't decide they wanted to do their own thing and there wasn't a negotiation that needed to be had. But when these players decided to go off the rip, they respected David Stern to the point where, like Levon just said, LeBron James would have never done that. Even if he would have been,
he makes $54 million.
Even if it
they're
doesn't
victims
matter
of their own
because
success. It's too much money to bring these guys in. I'm telling you,
it doesn't matter, Ace, because there's no control at the top. The NBA has gotten away from any semblance of governance or of any kind of control that is imposed upon players. Players do what they want to do,
Malik,
how they want to do it, when they want to do it, and when they don't want to play, they ain't gonna play.
Malik, one more time to your point. LeBron James had to sit out the All-Star game. Then took the photo and just totally disrespected the sanctity of it, the honor of being All-Star, all that other stuff, whatever. Played right away when the Lakers had to play a game that meant something. He was fine immediately. Right. But in the Four Nations game, that Kachuk brother, whatever his name is, got hurt.
And came back and played.
And couldn't play and still tried to play and then could not play when it mattered for his team. He was out.
Right.
This is what I'm talking about. That level of dedication.
And his team, the Florida Panthers, likely won't repeat without him.
Well, that's a different.
So was that a smart decision?
That's a different thing. We're not talking about this. Just the fact that he went and he played for Team USA because that's what it meant to him to show up for his league, for his team. He took pride in being a part of the festivities, whatever you want to call it, the sacrifice, bro. There's no sacrifice in the game, and if there's no real sacrifice, the fans are not going to care. It's going to be trash because we can tell the difference. We can see the difference.
Which is why my point is that we can't leave it up to the players anymore. The league has to step in and actually stop tinkering around, stop making these changes to the damn formatting, stop changing up the whole dunk format because it's not going to make the dunk contest better. Stop, trying to beautify the skills competition or Steph versus Sabrina part 2. Like, stop.
Well, I got a question for you then.
You're tinkering around the issue.
I got a question for you.
What I'm saying is the issue is the players don't want to do it. And if the players don't want to do it and they're allowed to make that decision for themselves to not do it, then it ain't never going to get better. So either you're going to Levon's point, either there's going to be something that's going to incentivize the players to want to be there and to want to do it and to give their all in the game, or you're going to have to start mandating things and making things required for these players and enforce that they're out there. And if nothing else, they got to be out there and they got to be performing. It is the All-Star weekend. You should be out there and you should be performing. And we're going to make this a requirement because you were selected. And if you're injured, you have a legitimate injury and you can't play, that's fine. We'll bring in somebody that wants to be there. We'll bring in somebody that's deserving and that wants to be there. There's plenty of 20-point scorers in the NBA that can be out there. Because I guess I'll put it this way. If you let Josh Hart be an all-star, he'd freaking play his ass off, right? Like he'd play like his damn life was on fire. If you let him go and play in the all-star game because this dude don't want to play, give Josh Hart the chance. If he had enough votes to go in, hey, let him get a chance. And if he gets a chance and he goes in and he plays his ass off, then maybe next year that guy that decided he didn't want to play because of one reason or another, he will then go out and say, you know what? I don't want to be stood up again like that. I don't want people talking about me like that. I want to go in and now show what I can do. Maybe that's where you go. But somebody has to put their foot down. You can't depend on the players to just decide that next year I'm gonna be great.
Ace, you have something to say?
Yeah, the question that I had was the changes started when they got rid of the whole position by position, when they got rid of the center position voting. And then they changed it so it wasn't 100% fan vote because the whole thing was cooked up to just get fans more involved and to make people bigger fans of the league. And they were tired of Roy Hibbert being an all-star because the other players said he didn't deserve it. Just because he's a center, he doesn't deserve to be there. That's when the changes started. It was around 2013 when they went to this whole backcourt, front court. And once they did that, to me, that's when they lost the sauce. It's not the intensity in the game because the intensity was really just the fourth quarter. Kobe was trying to embarrass LeBron and let him know it's still my league. That's why he was doing that. If somebody wants to come out there and embarrass LeBron or whoever's on that court or embarrass Steph, trust me, Wemby was going hard. He just couldn't do it because he wasn't guarding him directly. Yeah. And also, it was a 40-point game. So in a quick game, threes are going to win it for you. And that's going to be it. So give him 48 minutes and let him go at it. And I promise you, if Wemby's healthy enough to play next year, he will go out there and try to drop 60 on him.
I'm not saying they got to pretend it's game 7 of the finals, but they could go with the same type of intensity they do in an off-season practice or when they out there, trying to get in shape. They play hard. Just play with some type of competitive juice. They could go 3/4 speed, and that's still better than anything any normal person would be able to do, and most fans would be appreciative to see. The one thing I want to say about the slam dunk, and that'll be the last thing I say unless we continue on this topic, is I'm not impressed with what Matt McClung did. I've never been a gimmick guy. I wasn't impressed when Blake jumped over the car. Wasn't impressed when Dwight Howard put on the cape. I'm never impressed when somebody jumps over somebody else's head, or because all that stuff's been done. Maybe the first time is cool, but after the first time, second time, some of that stuff has to get put to bed. I thought the Castle kid, thought his dunks were creative. The layup through the hoop that he caught, went through the legs and dunked it. The behind the back, cuffing it with the left. Those are hard dunks to do. I don't think Matt McClung could have done any of those. I don't think he could have done any of those, especially not the behind the back cuffing with the left. Most of his dunks, they're cool. He gets up high. He's 6'1". He can leap, but I'm not big on props and gimmicks when it comes to skill challenges. And to be dunking the basketball at that level should be skill. We should look at something and say only that human being can perform that feat. And I don't think Matt McClung is the only person who could jump over a car, take a ball from between his legs, and reverse slam the shit in, and then fall on his stomach.
He's the only one who did it.
He is, but I think there's other people in the world who could possibly pull that off. I really do.
Unfortunately, they're not in the G League or the NBA.
They didn't think to do it, but I'm just saying, me personally, what I would do with the slam dunk, take the props out. We don't need the props. Let's just a little low brow. Let's raise the brow of this and take the props away. And let's make it kind of like a slam dunk horse competition where you do a dunk and then the person after you has to match it. And if they can match it, then they get to do a dunk that you have to match and have it be like an elimination. Like if you can't perform the dunk that somebody else did on the fly, not pre-rehearsed, none of that stuff. And that might make for boring because if they can't pre-rehearse, they might be missing all day. But that's when I think they should hold auditions for this thing. So it's just letting anybody say, yeah, I'll participate, have a panel, take all these guys who say they want to do it and say, let me see what you can do first and make them qualify. So then we don't get Buzz Button. I'm not trying to disrespect the guy. I don't know how to say his name. Dude from Chicago with the B name. We have him going out there trying to dunk 4 or 5 times and failing. And we have to watch that and feel kind of bad for the kid because it's like this kid is not taking it seriously and it's not looking good. That should not happen at this level in a slam dunk competition. You should be taking it seriously. It's like some of them went out there and they just trying stuff that they probably was trying to do for the very first time. And if that's the case, I think they should do it like that. Make it a game of horse when it's with dunks involved. Have them match each other's dunks, and maybe that'll add some juice to it. I don't know.
I hear you, and that makes sense. We're going to move on to our next topic, which we all wanted to talk about, which was the pro day. And the pro day, specifically in the NFL scouting combine of one Shador Sanders. Malik, I'm going to step aside and give you this opportunity to grandstand a little bit as we were getting into this the past couple of weeks of the NFL season heading to the Super Bowl. And I agreed with you, and I feel like I am right as well, but I'm going to let you be right first because I believe you said this first.
I mean, I'm not gonna gloat. I mean, it's funny because I was shout. I remember Levon put me in one of his shout outs like towards the end of the season, when I was, when I sent him the article, send you guys the article about him thinking about actually throwing in the combine. Um, so I'm not gonna gloat because it's not something it's not something I typically tend to do, but it's not something that I think is necessary needs to be gloated about. It's just it's a sign of the times of the NFL. It's a sign of the times of the draft process and the NFL, and I think Levon, I think Levon is right in the sense of he should want to do this. He should want to go there and compete. He should want to go there and put his game out, on the combine stage. It's just that the fact of the matter is that the combine for these guys, for picks that are, either projected to be or, quote unquote guaranteed to be in the top 1 or 2 or top 5 in the class, especially at the quarterback position. But sometimes it happens with the other skill positions that competing at an event with 200 other people, a percentage of which are actually competing at the same position that you can do nothing but hurt your stock if you don't go out there and perform to the absolute best of your abilities for one reason or another. Either because you don't have the best, you don't have your receivers there, or the drills aren't set up the way that you typically do it. Because a lot of these players don't run those combine type drills in their regular workout sessions in between between when they're working out with trainers and between the end of the season and the beginning of and end of their college season in the combine. So a lot of these drills are relatively new to them, especially the receiver drills, but I know some of the quarterback drills are relatively new to them as well. Um, and so like if I'm an agent, if I'm an agent and I know that Shador Sanders is going to have a pro day that's going to be attended by, half of the league, if not the entire league, somebody's going to be there attending that pro day event, and I can coordinate and fix to some degree the event to be a showcase of all of his respective abilities and even, highlight some of the things that people believe he may be weak on. Um, the control and the management of that situation just seems to bode better for the player like a Shador Sanders. For a player like Jackson Dart, who, maybe, 10 teams are going to attend the Ole Miss pro day, to see him um, going there, really can help your stock. Really can help your stock and help you to really show what you can do, in a group of your peers. So again, while I agree with Levon's ultimate statement, months ago when we talked about this, um, that every player should want to go there and should want to compete in this event. The fact of the matter is that over the course of the last few years, players have opted out of this because of the reason that I was alluding to, whereas they don't have control over the situation in the combine, and so they'll go there, they'll measure, they'll interview, but they won't throw because they rather throw in an environment that's completely under their control, especially if the only thing that really can happen for them is that they either stay where they are coming out of the combine or they fall, respective to another guy who goes in there and throws for 65 yards down the field. So that's all I'll say about it.
Man, listen, they know how far he can throw. They don't need him to do all that. They've seen him play for 4 years. What else are they going to learn from this? There's no new information. There's no information. They saw him play 2 years at Colorado, one in the Pac-12, one in the Big 12 against higher level competition. They saw him play at Jackson State against FCS competition. They can see what he can do. They see what he can do with talent that's probably not going to be in the NFL with him. And they see what he can do with talent that's going to be in the NFL with him, like he had with the first overall pick, who's likely going to be going, who won the Heisman. I don't know why I can't remember this kid's name right now. But
Travis Hunter.
I don't see the point. Travis Hunter. I don't see the point in them having to do it again. How many times you need to see me throw? How many times? Jackson Dart, the same thing. You've been in college for 4 years. How many times you need to see me throw? You got 4 years of tape and me in the SEC against SEC defense against guys that are now in the NFL from last season and this season that will be there. So like, how much you need to see me throw? You know. And Levon, I have a question for you because your team has the highest draft pick. Who do you want to see the Giants draft?
Okay. I don't know. I don't know because I reserve my opinion on who I want my team to draft till after I actually see the prospects perform. And that for me is the combine. And I don't know if they show pro days outside of highlights and stuff on YouTube or whatever. But the only way I'm gonna know in this situation where there is no clean cut surefire thing at a position in which we need, which is like quarterback primarily, I don't know. And I would use, and I'm kind of giving away what I wanted to say about this whole thing. That's what I'm saying. Am I just answering the question or am I giving my whole take on this whole thing?
I think you're starting with the answer to the question and then
well, yeah, the answer to the
take.
question is I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I'm saying, is Ace going to continue after I answer his question? Does he have something to say after that, or I don't know?
Oh, well, you know, I always got something to say.
He'll probably have something to say based off of what you say.
But yeah. Okay. Well, well, I didn't know. That's what I meant. So let me say, the difference between me and I'd say this in my Levon way. You're gonna take it how you take it. The difference between me and you two is I'm always willing to admit when I'm wrong about something, and Malik was right. And Malik will never admit when I'm right, but that's how me and him differ. He was correct. He said Shedeur would not throw, and if that report is from his camp, from himself, saying he will not throw, then Malik was correct. I thought he would. I banked that he would because I thought that was in his best interest because he's not clear cut above Cam Ward at this time as the best quarterback in the draft, and you want to be considered the best at your position because you want to get drafted as high as possible. Malik is right at everything he said, and we agree with that. The only thing we disagree is Malik believes it doesn't benefit Shedeur to throw. And I think it does, for the exact reason I just stated. We do not know. No one knows. No one is going to go on and admit and say Shedeur is the best quarterback in this draft. Hands down, he's going to be the first quarterback taken. With that statement alone, if you have something to prove, you should prove it. And you should take as many opportunities to prove it as possible. How throwing in the draft is different is because at a pro day, it is scripted. At a pro day, you are throwing to targets you are familiar with. When he gets drafted, he is not going to be in a familiar situation. He is not going to be throwing to targets he is familiar with. That is what the combine does. Also, what the combine does is it puts you in a group of your peers where people can witness and see what they couldn't see when you were playing at Colorado for all those years or at Jackson State. I get to see very quickly, very definitively, you Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, throwing in an uncontrolled situation, 2 targets you're not used to, and who looks better. That is what I can see. I don't get to see that at Jackson State. I don't get to see Shedeur throw it out, and then right after that, Cam throw the same thing, and then right after that, Jackson. I don't get to see that in those games. But in the combine, I get to compare these athletes and see what they can do. That's why they have the 40-yard dash. That's why they have the cone drill. That's why they have the bench press, to see what these athletes can do against one another. They have the rankings up there. When they do it, who's the fastest in the 40? Why do you think they do all of that? That is what the combine is for. I know he has stuff on tape. We all understand he has stuff on tape, but I want to see what it looks like when he's next to the other players who are going to join him at the next level. His contempt, whatever you want to call it. I want to see what it looks like. And yeah, it's smart for him.
I hear you.
It's not smart for him to do it if he knows his arm's not as strong as Cam's. His arm's not as strong as Dart's. He doesn't have the arm talent. It does not benefit him to do that. It doesn't benefit him. It doesn't benefit Cam to do that if he knows he's going to go out there and if he's going to miss on a drag, or if he's going to be late on a drag and throw behind a receiver, or if he's going to be, inaccurate on an out and throw it out of bounds. It's not going to look good if Shedeur can hit those. So it doesn't benefit Cam to do that. We had a pro day. He can draw up as many of those routes that he's good at versus the routes he's not good at all he wants. It's a controlled environment. So my whole thing was, I get everything Malik said. He's absolutely correct. And I agree with him. I just think that if he wanted to solidify himself as the best, you go and prove it when you have the opportunity to do so. And when you shrink from that, for lack of a better term, but I like the term shrink, because when you shrink from that, to me, it says a lot. I'm just going to interview, because we already heard him interview. That's all he does. You talk all the time. His
Well, the
father.
teams may have more specific questions for him, but
his
to that point,
his father is the king of that. Deion is
to
the
that
king
point,
of that.
who do you want the Giants to draft? Because they have the third overall.
I do not know, and I will not know, because I don't know what these players can do. I seen him at Colorado. He looked terrible in that bowl game. He looked like Daniel Jones in that bowl game. He looked bad. I haven't watched enough of Cam Ward to know. Only thing I can look at of Cam Ward is basically the stuff they put on YouTube, and that's all highlights. I don't want to see highlights.
Oh, you didn't watch any of them University of Miami games?
No, Aaron, you know the answer to that question. No, I do not. I don't know I don't even know if I want to draft Abdul Carter. I won't know until I see, Abdul Carter, how fast he runs, what he does in the cone compared to these other. I don't know if I want him to draft I don't know if I want him to draft Mason Graham. I don't know if I want him to draft Travis Hunter. I don't know, because I don't know these guys outside of what other people are telling me. I'd like to see. And if I still don't have enough information, I guess I'm going to go off of, what people tell me. And what people say is that Shedeur and Cam Ward are not worthy of being top 5 picks. But this is a weak quarterback draft. That is what the consensus is, and that has not changed. That is what people say. The only person saying anything different is that man's daddy. No one else is saying anything different other than that man's daddy. So,
well, no, there's a guy at ESPN. He's a draft analyst. He said he expects whether the Tennessee Titans take Travis Hunter or Cam Ward, they can't really go wrong with either one. He says he sees no matter who you want to pick, that's not a problem. I'm talking about the draft analysts, people who go study the film, look at all the college games, look at what they can do, how they process, things like that.
But again,
I'm not this high level person that's breaking all of this down. From what I've seen, what Cam Ward has done from every level, he appears to be an excellent quarterback.
That's in context. He's a draft analyst. He's talking about this draft, these players. Ward and Sanders are 1-2. I'm talking about overall talent. And we had this argument weeks ago. A top 5 pick NFL quarterback talent, what that looks like. When you're top 5 in the draft, you had a really terrible year. You want gold jacket, all pro talent at that level.
Yes, you do. But you don't always get it. That's what you want. That's the idea, but it's not always, doesn't always happen.
That's what of course it doesn't. So is it this year? Are they all pro gold jacket quarterbacks? If they're not, then no, I do not want to draft one of them with the 3rd pick. I do not want to do that.
So
That
you're
is
a
my.
best player available guy.
I am. If I'm drafted third and I just came off a 3-14 season, you damn right. I want to know. I want a crystal ball to tell me, yeah, this guy's going into the Hall of Fame. I'm picking him. That's what I'm picking. I'm not picking because I need a quarterback. Or let me just get the best one this year. No. I want the guy who is going to be great for me for the next 10 years, not good to great or mediocre just because he's the only thing available. That's like, I don't know. That's like going to the, I can't even say what that's like. We've been beating this drum and I just, you know, no, man, no. If we put all the quarterbacks in this draft, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Arch Manning, Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, Cam Ward. Where do Cam and Shador get picked? Is it even where do they get picked?
I'm
That's
going
what
to
I'm
say
talking
pretty
about.
high considering Eli and Peyton are almost in their mid to late 40s.
I'm talking about if they were college level players, 19, 20, or
Oh,
20,
my bad.
21 years old. Where do they get picked? All of those guys get picked top 5. Even Lamar Jackson, we know now top 5.
Those guys probably don't get drafted, but that's obviously
Yeah, they don't
that's
because it's like
that's conjecture.
where's the talent level land? We don't know. And they could be that good, but Shador is afraid to show it.
Right.
He's
And that's
afraid to
conjecture
show it.
relative to the draft that they're in.
He is afraid to show it, sir. And that to me speaks volumes. Why not throw at the draft, sir? You throwing, in front of your brother and all the other college teammates. Why not throw at the combine? Why not?
And
To
that's
me,
go ahead, Lon. I'll let you finish.
yeah. My thing, and the last thing I'm gonna let you rock. I've been going long. My thing is, we said if you don't throw, it's one or two reasons why you don't throw. One, there's no doubt you have nothing to prove. You're that good. You're going first overall, Arch Manning. Or two, you're scared to lower your stock because you got something to hide. It's a deficiency you don't want to come out. And I mean, Shador does not fit in that first category. No one is saying that he has can't miss talent. He's not Trevor Lawrence. He's not in that. And I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence. We all know hindsight 2020. But when he was coming out of Clemson, everybody was like, "Yep, first pick, Trevor Lawrence, without a doubt. Arm talent, processing, all of that stuff." Nobody's saying that about Shador. He has something to prove, and he's choosing not to throw. To me, that is a red flag. He's trying to hide something. That's all. That's all I got.
Okay, I hear you.
Well, I will three things, and I actually took notes as Levon was talking. So, number one, Levon, I do admit when I'm wrong because I actually sent you the link.
No, you
What I
don't.
said is,
Kevin got that, Kyrie.
I actually
No,
sent
you
you the
don't.
link
I'm
that
talking
said
about
he was
Kevin
likely
Garnett.
to play.
Not
No,
Kevin
here's
Garnett. Kevin
I actually
Durant.
sent you the link that said
Okay.
he was when I saw the article that he was likely to play. I sent you the link and I said I stand corrected or something. I posted in the link. I sent it to the team to the group chat. I said I stand corrected, and then when you doubled down and you actually shouted, did the shout out a few weeks later, shouted me out. I didn't go against anything you said. I said, we'll see, obviously we'll see what happens. Now we've got to this point. So I did admit that I was, when it looked like I was trending in the wrong direction. I did admit that. I did give you your props when I said that. That was number one. Number two, like I said, I think we're in agreement. I don't know that it's the player making the decision. What I had said in my initial comment was, if I'm his agent, if my goal, my sole goal, my sole purpose is to ensure that this player that I represent gets picked and gets drafted at the highest level of, that he can possibly get drafted, my recommendation to him would be that you don't throw in an environment that's not 100% conducive to you showing your best effort, your best value, your best worth, because this is essentially a job interview. You show your best foot, right? I think, to your point, I think the player, the competitor in him, should want to go out there and play, should want to go out there and throw, should want to go out there and compete against anybody and everybody and say, I'm the best, give me the ball, I will go ahead and prove it to everybody. And I will go ahead and do that on every stage, not just the biggest stage, not the smallest stage, not my stage, doesn't matter. Put me on the field, because that's the thing that they're going to tell everybody. That's the thing that they're going to sit in those interview rooms, Ace, to your point, they're going to interview with those teams, and they're going to be sitting with those teams and trying to convince those teams that they are the person that you should be picking, that they are the person that you should be, putting your eggs in the basket for. They are the person you should be spending your money on and using your draft pick on. So as a result of that, show me, you tell me with your words, and then show me with your skills on the field. Show me with your skills in any and every space that we have provided, is provided to you to do that. Not only in the space that deem is the most beneficial for you. So when these players have decided over the last few years to not do this, to not compete, the only thing that what screams to me is one, somebody's in their ear, or these kids are not the competitors that I believe that they should be coming into this situation, because they should all want to throw. The third thing was, again, kind of in agreement with what Levon was saying, and a little bit of a rebuttal to Ace's point. If I'm the GM of a team, I should not. I've always been on the theory of best player available. Position need is a plus, but best player available is where I'm going. And the reason why is because if I'm a GM of a team, if I'm in the front office, and I know that I have a weakness at a respective position, but the best player available is not a player at that position, I need to have a plan for improving my team across the board at all the positions that are necessary to be improved at, utilizing all of the avenues available to me: free agency, the draft, trades, whatever, whatever back end, the market, the release player market, whatever I need to do as I'm working with my coach to identify who is the player that's going to take my team from worst to first, who's the player that's going to improve my team's stock the most. If it's a draft pick, then I want to go get that draft pick. If it's a free agent, then I'm going to go get that free agent. If it's a trade, then I'm going to go make that trade. I'm going to pursue it to the best of my ability, so that when I get to the draft, I'm not selling out. I am not drafting a guy who I view and my scouts view as being the 50th guy on the board, and I'm picking him at 3 because I need a quarterback. Like, to me, that makes absolutely no sense. If you're not, and
I hear what you're saying.
if you're doing that, you're doing yourself and you're doing your team and your organization a disservice. So who do I think that the Giants should draft, or who do I think that um the Titans should draft, or the Browns should draft in those top 3? The best guy, the guy that makes the most sense for them organizationally, and the guy that you could foresee in a perfect world is going to be wearing a gold jacket for your organization, for your team in 15 or 20 years from now. That's the guy you want to get. And if that guy is a quarterback, great. But if he's not, I ain't picking him. And that's where I come from. My hope is that the people that are evaluating these kids are not like you and me and Levon, and only seeing them, only being able to use the combine as our frame of reference, or the game film as our frame of reference. These guys should have been at Colorado versus Nebraska last season, in that nationally televised game that I was watching. They should have been at Colorado versus, USC, or whatever night. I remember they were playing a really, really late night game. Somebody from the Giants, or somebody from the Browns, or somebody from the Titans should have been at that game. They should be. They send advanced scouts to these games for these reasons, so that it's not just the game film, it's not just the pro day tape, it's not just the combine tape. They have information, and all they're doing at the combine is matching up what they see on the field with what they have, with the information that they already have, because they've already done a lot of the due diligence and a lot of the work necessary to get to this point. So I think the players should want to play. I understand that this is a business, and these agents and folks that are in their ear are advising them to do things that maximize their earning potential and their ability to get drafted at the position that they want to be drafted in. But I also believe that it's team's responsibility to do all of their homework, all of their due diligence, and not use just the combine as the sole, checkbox or data point for making a selection. They should know who they're picking well ahead of the April 26th draft date.
Yeah, I mean, that's for me. I'm not in the building. I'm not a scout. I'm not Joe Shane. He better have his top 5 already like written down. The rest of this should just be window dressing or who knows if something happens. But
in fairness to Joe Shane, he actually does draft well. It's the players that he
yeah, he
inherited
does.
who gave him the problems.
Except for a few, never knew. But Ace, to answer your question fully and quickly, if it's close, like if it's close between Cam Ward, Shador, and like a Jackson Dart, or Will Howard, Dylan Gabriel, I don't care. But if
I'd
it's
like to point out
close,
I was vague. I didn't say you guys should take a quarterback. I said,
yeah.
what player do you want them to draft?
I know you did.
There could
I know
be a
you.
great defensive end.
Yeah.
It could be a great cornerback. I didn't say you should draft a QB. That's where you took it.
Well, I took it there because we're talking about Shador and his decision not to throw. But to answer your question without factoring in the topic, if it's close between Shador specifically and say a Dart or a Will Howard, it would be smart, in my amateur opinion, to take a top tier prospect at another position of need. Best player available, position of need, marry those two, use the third pick on that, let's say Mason Graham or Abdul Carter. And then, being that you pick so quickly in the second round, let Shador, let Cam Ward go wherever they're going. And then if you can get another quarterback who's close talent-wise, I mean, that's a win. Rather than reaching for a Shador, picking him that early, and missing out on a premier talent at another position. And then with your second pick in the second round, having to pick, I don't know, the next best DT or edge rusher or cornerback who's not even close. Does that make sense? I mean, you get where I'm going with that?
Yeah, I hear you completely. That's usually what the Bears do, with the
So
exception
that's
of when they drafted
yeah.
the past three quarterbacks they took.
And then there's free agency. I mean, we might trade for the Matt Stafford or do something crazy, sign Jameis Winston, and that changes things altogether. Because if you
Yeah,
do
big
that
deal, man.
and Stafford's got to
Jameis.
play, I don't want to use a third pick on Shador Sanders so he can sit and watch. I know Anthony would be jumping through the roof as I'm saying this, but I don't want to spend the third pick on a player that's going to sit for 2 years and watch as Stafford
Yeah,
does whatever he does for the Giants.
you'd rather draft somebody in the second round or the third round if they're that much of a question.
Yes, exactly. And use that
I
third pick on a
understand.
piece that could
Yeah,
actually help Stafford or trade down and get extra picks and use that on a pick that can help Stafford, like the McMillan kid or the offensive lineman to show up the offensive line. I mean, you got to be smart with it. And it's just like, it's not the quarterbacks in this draft are not the types where if you have Josh Rosen, yeah, you go and take Kyler Murray because Kyler Murray is like head and shoulders the best and blah. I don't believe that. I don't know what Arizona was thinking, but they did it. But you know what I'm saying? You know,
yeah, I
it's,
hear you. I do. It's unlikely that that's going to happen. That y'all are going to take a defensive end,
yeah. I mean,
considering who
all
you've been
signs point
drafting.
to the Giants must know
So
something I don't because everybody
I
everybody keeps saying
imagine
that they want to take the Shador Sanders kid. So
I don't know if that's going to happen because they're saying that Cleveland's going to take, and he seems to
uh,
be okay with that. And they're saying likely that you guys are going to draft the best offensive lineman or the best defender of it.
I don't know. I don't know where you're hearing that from.
That is, I'm hearing that from ESPN.com and from the Athletic. That is what they are
Is
reporting.
the Giant? What offensive lineman is this? Banks?
No, Banks is going to go further down. It's going to
So
be
what
an
offensive
interior.
lineman are we taking at
Campbell.
It's
3?
going to be an
I'm
interior
curious.
offensive line.
We're gonna
It'd
take a
probably be
I
guard at
can't
Campbell.
remember.
3.
No, it'd probably be
Listen,
Campbell from LSU.
it was
Yeah,
it was
like
a center or a tackle, but I can't remember which because they did not like the offensive line play because Daniel Jones was running for his life, and they
yeah,
said no matter who we draft, it's going to be a problem.
that is a
Hey,
So we
flaming
need
one.
to
I have
draft
not
somebody to
heard that
protect the
we're
QB.
taking a tackle at
if
3,
it's
especially not the
Yeah,
guy from LSU.
they were
if
looking
it's
at
not,
him, and
yeah,
they were also
if it's
looking
not
at other players.
Sanders, what I heard is they do everything that they possibly can to trade down and maybe
Trade
take a
down.
tackle later.
Yeah,
Um,
which would be
Yeah,
ideal.
yeah,
Ideal.
that if it's not going to be
yeah.
Sanders. Now if Sanders blows up, but to you had a thought about pro days. Yeah, Levon, pro days are televised now. For a lot of the big names. So Shador Sanders' pro day is going to likely be on ESPN. It'll be aired on ESPN.
I'm still not watching
The
that.
the difference is it usually happens at a time of the day where most people are working. So unless you work from home or you have a cushy setup, at your office, you're probably not going to be able to watch it. You can stream it online. I know I did watch Caleb Williams's pro day last season, which was aired on television. So it's not all pro days, but definitely a fair number of pro days are nationally televised, and all pro days now in today's day and age, all pro days are usually are available for streaming on their college's website. I happened to watch, I think I told you guys before, a friend of mine, the son went to Nebraska and was going through the draft process. And I was able to stream the Nebraska Pro Day um, on their website. And I did that. So
I know that
Where did he
there's
end up getting drafted?
who's that?
he didn't get drafted. He was an undrafted free agent. Went to the Denver Broncos, and he played there
Uh,
for the entirety of the season.
nice. Got to go to the playoffs. All right, that's cool.
I know
Or you,
on social media, YouTube is what I go to. I know there's something on YouTube where Shador and Cam Ward are like throwing against each other. Um, and they're like throwing different routes while talking smack back and forth. And I watched that briefly, and I was like, yeah, see, this is not. I mean, this thing is scripted, obviously. I couldn't take any of it seriously, and it's like it shows me nothing. It shows me nothing in what they were doing. I mean, it's easy to find. You just put in like Sanders and Ward, and it's like Ward claps at Sanders. He says it's like they're like how we used to talk smack at each other on the basketball court. But you could tell we were really friends, but we were still talking smack and degrading each other. So they're doing that while throwing routes to these receivers, as somebody is filming them. I think it was at it was at UNLV, I think. And to me, it's like that tells you absolutely nothing. That tells me absolutely nothing. The point of that's like a pro day is like we're gonna go on, we're gonna throw this, we're gonna throw this, we're gonna throw this. It's the comfort of everything you're used to. Go like, what are you learning from that, bro? You're not learning anything from that whatsoever. I think it's just a waste. I don't know why people do it. It's a waste. Maybe for quarterbacks. Maybe the other stuff when they run, how fast somebody is, the lifts, all that other
it
stuff is
gives
good to
chance.
combine.
It gives scouts a chance to come up and see guys who may not have gotten invited to the combine. So if Shador is doing that and Travis Hunter are doing that at Colorado, it gives all the players that don't have any eligibility left, that are essentially in the draft regardless,
Oh,
who may
okay.
be undrafted free
So for
agents to
those
work out with them.
cats, got you.
So
Okay.
that linebacker, that corner, that receiver, whoever it is who's on that team who may have pro aspirations, there might be CFL scouts there. There might be UFL scouts there.
Okay.
Who knows where you're going? You could be an undrafted, you could be a seventh round guy.
Well,
We
is
don't know.
Cam Ward
But
gonna throw?
also,
Did he say he was
it
throwing?
showcases the stars. Cam Ward, I have not heard yet, but
There hasn't been
honestly,
any word about him
he
yet, but he
improvises a
didn't.
lot, but he's good.
I mean, the fact that he didn't throw at the Senior Bowl
Mhm.
or at the Shrine game, he's probably not going to throw at the combine either.
Like I said,
I would say it's 80-20.
I was in a camp where I didn't want either one of them, so I'm more interested in looking at, like I said, Dart, Howard, and hoping that one of them could
You
show
do not want
something.
Will Howard on your team.
I just want to see. I like to see if one of them could show something and be like, oh, he
Okay.
might be worth a second round pick, But that first
Okay.
round pick, but not for a quarterback, not this year. I want him to trade down with somebody who's gullible enough to want to take that gamble. Raiders,
Gullible
Jets,
enough.
and give me that first round pick next year. But I don't think anybody's that stupid either.
Wow. You got that little faith in him, huh?
I mean, smoke and fire. People, it's no secrets anymore. If they were that good, people would say it. If they were that good, people would tell us. They would say it. They'd be like, oh, can't miss prospect. He wouldn't have to